Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to sell unless it goes up a lot. All right, I'm going to hit record.
Yeah.
I will hit record. I promise.
Do it.
Okay.
We are the New York Knicks. I'm back. Back in New York. Ooh. Well, it's the Knicks. New York. We are the New York Knicks. New York. For this new season we're about to enter, the Knicks is taking no shorts, just like winter. New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is
K-N-I-C-K-S.
Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Go New York, go New York, go!
Hey everybody, it is the New York Knicks Podcast, episode 580. I am Jay. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing good. The big news that has dropped is the Knicks have re-signed or extended RJ Barrett for 4 years and $120 million. How you feeling, Jay?
Feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah. So this is I know when the Knicks extended Mitchell Robinson, there was a question: did they break the streak or not? The Charlie Ward curse, or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And the people said, well, that was really more. It's more about first round picks. Like Mitchell Robinson was a second round pick. It's done now. RJ Barrett was the first round pick. The Knicks have extended him. The curse, or whatever you want to call it, is over. We are moving our franchise forward.
Yeah, no matter how you want to slice it, the streak is definitely over.
Okay. First, how do you feel about it? Were the Knicks correct in extending RJ Barrett?
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that maybe he's not worth $30 million a year now, but you're banking that he's young and he's gotten better every year, and if he continues on this trend, it will be definitely worth it, and probably a good deal by the end of the contract.
I mean, you often pay guys based on kind of past performance and what you expect from them in the future. Barrett each year has gotten better. If Barrett basically only did what he did last year going forward, he's probably not worth $30 million a year. But you're also saying the dude is 21, turning 22 years old.
He just turned 22, yeah.
He just turned 22. He's 22 years old. You're banking on him getting better. And if he doesn't get better, the franchise is basically screwed.
Well, yeah, and also the cap is going to go up soon, like significantly with the new TV deal. So
Yes.
$30 million is not even going to be that. It's going to be like average for an average player, a slightly above average player. So I mean, it's fine. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a fine deal. Glad they did it. It's going to make. There was some rumors that RJ was offered in Donovan Mitchell trade. So that makes the.
You're going to blow the entire all our topic like right away.
We haven't done a show in so long, and
this is nothing else. We have to extend this entire conversation to the next goddamn hour, and you're like, here's all the details. I'm done.
So thanks for listening. We'll be back next week.
So I was going to say the Barrett contract is, according to Sport Track, it's the 47th highest average annual contract in the NBA. 47th is not bad for your number one. He's your highest paid player. 47th isn't crazy. These contracts are just going up. And you made a good point. The TV deals, the whole salary cap is going to go up. $30 million a year is going to look like probably what will happen is Barrett will get better, and this will look like a very hot, like a good value going forward.
I have not been keeping up with the salaries. I did not realize there was that many players making $30 million.
Isn't that crazy?
That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really crazy amount of play. Even I am like, not even I'm. That's kind of insane. But so basically, if over 30 if like 40 something players are making $30 million a year, your team should have one guy making that much money, right?
Yeah. One to two. It's
at the minimum one guy. And is there anyone more deserving to make that money, or anyone else you want to pay that money to more on the Knicks?
No. Brooklyn Adrian says Utah is not going to get anything close to what we're offering. We should literally just back out of the trade. It's not really worth it. And can you guys have the superstar conversation? Name the superstars in the NBA. I would like to find out how many there are and who.
Okay.
And what's your definition of a superstar?
So who are the superstars in the NBA? Do you want to take turns going through them? I'm going to say Jokic, superstar.
Giannis.
John, superstar. It's two. I think LeBron still qualifies as a superstar.
Yeah.
I mean, he puts up amazing numbers. He's obviously not quite the player he used to be, but he's still really a superstar.
Yeah. This will probably be
how
last year.
Yeah, fine. How do you define it? I think superstar is the most elite of players. I don't have here what I'm looking for. I'm just kind of thinking these are some of the best players in the league.
A superstar is basically, even if you surround them with garbage, you're probably going to make the playoffs just because they're that good. They can carry a franchise. If you give them any help whatsoever, they're instantly a championship contender.
Okay, let's go through. Okay, I said LeBron. Go another. We'll go fast in this.
Steph.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Steph, definitely. Luka, is he superstar yet? I think he with this year's playoffs he got there.
3 All NBAs in 4 seasons. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next.
Durant.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, whatever you want to bash. I'm buying the Nets have figured out a way to keep Durant on the team. Go Nets! Way to convince a guy who has 4 years left on his deal to play for your team. I'm sure nothing will go wrong. Nothing else will go wrong with your team going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Embiid.
You said Jokic, right?
Yes, Jokic.
That might be it.
Yeah, I mean we're probably missing someone, but I don't think Ja gets there just yet. But Ja's on the verge.
Yeah, you got Ja, Tatum, Kawhi, but he misses too much time.
Yeah, Kawhi misses too much time. Tatum is getting there, but
I think he's like the next tier down with like Jimmy Butler, Harden, Towns. Like
Harden's falling fast.
Yeah,
but yes,
and I would put like Lillard and Mitchell in that like next tier down. So like superstars, I would say there's like 8.
So something like that. Yeah, we don't have to get the exact number, but Lillard's maybe falling a little bit, but the real question was, where's Donovan Mitchell? He's the Knicks' target. You think if you said the superstar, you think he's star?
Star.
He's list B.
Oh, we forgot Ntilikina. Thanks, Anthony.
Okay. So in fairness for Ntilikina, I didn't leave him off superstar. I just think he has his own category called elite superstar, and he's the only one.
Yeah, I would put Donovan Mitchell is the next tier, top 20.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I mean we don't have to put all the players in there, but he's a really great player, but he's a notch below he's a notch below anyone else we named.
Right.
And even like some of the other guys that were in that tier, like Tatum, you said is right below superstar. Tatum is better than Donovan Mitchell. Yeah. It's fine to say. I would say that. Would you disagree with me?
No. I mean, Donovan Mitchell's like top 15, maybe somewhere
top
between
20. Donovan Mitchell's top 20, and we don't have to figure out exactly where he is.
Right, but Tatum's closer to like that top 10.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
10 to 15.
Totally fair.
10 to 15, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing wrong with saying, Devin Booker is one guy we left off. I also think he's right below superstar. Would you rather have Devin Booker than Donovan Mitchell? I think probably no. Oh, why?
Well, Donovan Mitchell, I've seen perform in the playoffs. Booker was just choked so bad, and he's got that Kardashian-Jenner curse going on. I don't want him anywhere near the team.
Fine, whatever. They did they get to the finals 2 years ago? Yeah. Okay.
And they choked there too. So
okay. Anyway, he's Mitchell. I would take Booker over Mitchell. They're both elite scorers. Booker's a better scorer and more efficient.
Okay.
Nothing crazy. Let's just go before we go into the Donovan Mitchell stuff. Let's go back to RJ. My thought on RJ, first of all, the Knicks are going over the cap to pay RJ, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Knicks, it's not like if they paid him $25 million a year or $30 million a year or 35, it didn't matter as far as the cap. The Knicks are going over to pay him.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really affect the cap in the sense of like the Knicks are already going to be capped out either way.
They have the roster. The only tweaks is if they're going to make the trade for Mitchell because they're like 2 to 3 deep in every position already. They weren't going to sign anybody.
Yeah. If anyone wants to quibble over the numbers for RJ, the cap's going up. If you think he was worth 25 instead of 30, I mean, sometimes it comes down to like, it's not your money, it's not our money. The $5 million wasn't going to make much of a difference. Like,
well, you also risk insulting him and turning it into drama, and sometimes it's worth an extra little bit just to make everybody happy.
Right. It wasn't going to be the difference between us signing like, oh, if we pay $2 million less, we can get Joel Embiid or something like. It's either way, it's totally fine. So my other thought on this is, of the young players in the team, is anyone near RJ Barrett? Of the guys the Knicks have drafted, I'll leave Brunson out of this, but
right.
Is any of the guys they like, Obi, Grimes, IQ, I guess also even Mitchell Robinson, are any of those guys anywhere near what you think RJ's ceiling is?
No, I don't think so.
Right. So I feel like RJ's the guy that you drafted a bunch of guys. You have some guys that could end up being good. We don't know. RJ's the one guy where like this guy has to be good. If he's not good, I think we're screwed.
Yeah.
Like if this like, sorry, go.
No, they're confident that RJ is the guy, and so the rumor is that RJ was put into a Mitchell offer, but they had a deadline on Monday night, or they were going to extend him. Utah didn't make a move, and so they extended him, and I think they're comfortable with that. I think they have faith in RJ.
Yeah, I guess my bigger point was basically, it's like whatever you're paying him, it does. Like if let's say you RJ underperforms, and he's not worth his contract. Our franchise is screwed either way. Like the next 3 or 4 years are shot if RJ is not good at basketball.
Yeah.
If he does not get better, like our only chance to really compete. I mean, bringing in Mitchell, Brunson, so much hinges on RJ just getting better.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, you got to lock a guy in like that. So
yeah, exactly. If you have to like, if he was the one guy you have to just take a bet on that he's going to get better, and if he doesn't get better, well, our team was going to be just terrible anyway.
So there's we got another question in the chat from the Shadow. Does this signing block the Mitchell trade or just cost more? What does this mean for a likely dump of Randall?
So here's the question: how serious do you think the Knicks were about moving? So it was reported early on, or a little while back, that Utah wasn't even that interested in RJ, and Knicks weren't going to move RJ. Then it was reported some people in the Knicks organization thought it made sense to move RJ for getting Mitchell. Do you think it made any sense to move RJ to get Mitchell?
No. It's the whole point is to make the team better. Swapping out your best player for another team's best player, like that's almost a lateral move. You can argue Mitchell's better than RJ, but to the point of making the team that much better, I don't think so. If you're going to attach all those draft picks, it's not worth it. So it's almost a lateral move when you include all the draft picks. So there's
right,
no point.
and even if you got to keep some of the draft picks by including
but you're
RJ,
still giving it. It doesn't matter if you keep some; you're giving up some. So if you're
right,
I think you're losing out on that. So
I think what you're saying basically is as good as RJ. No one's questioning that Donovan Mitchell is better than RJ, but is he enough of an upgrade that like if you don't have RJ on the team, does it make the whole trade worth it?
Right. And to answer the Shadows question, there's some weird poison pill in this, so that outgoing salary for Barrett would need to be $11.9 million, but the incoming salary for the other team is $26.2 million. So it
was something about how like they counted the average of his salaries, I think.
Mm-hmm. So
it
makes it more complicated. It could still be done. I don't think they do.
I mean, I'm assuming they gave him the extension because he's off the table. I also think I think it's insane for them to include RJ.
It's
just
hard
like
to tell what's just being leaked by other teams as like this whole thing is a chess match. So you don't know if if the Knicks were doing that to gauge reaction, or if maybe the Jazz leaked it just to, see if the Knicks balked. Like, none of this might be true. This could all just be games played through the media.
Right. And I heard a theory that was like that maybe RJ was really seriously being included, or maybe the Knicks were throwing out like 7 different offers just to see where the Jazz were, like where they were feeling this. Like maybe the Knicks never planned to move RJ. It was more just like, we just want to see what the Jazz value here. What are they actually looking for?
Right. Oh, the Shadow asks, can we afford RJ, Brunson, Mitchell, and Randall? We can, but it would have to be Fournier and a couple other players going out to make that work.
Yeah. Well, I think you'd have to do Fournier plus Randall or Derrick Rose. My guess is they take Rose over Randall. But you'd have to have that combination to get Mitchell here.
Yeah.
Beyond the draft picks. Right. The whole point of getting Mitchell also is that, like, we're going to be we want to get to the point where we're a contender. And if you take away one of our best players making the trade, it's just not going to be very helpful.
So my prediction is the trade happens tomorrow morning.
Yes, Jay always thinks big news happens after he uploads the show. So he's assuming that as soon as he uploads the show, they will drop the Donovan Mitchell trade, and Jay will be like, "Oh, cool! I'll just delete this episode and we'll just re-record because this is really annoying."
So between 30 minutes and, like, say 10 to 12 hours after I upload an episode, that news almost always drops. So the news that did happen today is Donovan Mitchell took all references to the Jazz off of all his social media accounts.
Why is this a thing, though? Guys always do this, and like they're always like, "Oh, I'm no longer talking about the Jazz on Pinterest."
You love mentioning Pinterest
because it just seems like the dumbest site possible. It always is like what they're doing. Everyone's following so closely. I feel like people follow it so closely that maybe players are doing that just to, like, mess with social media.
I mean, I would if I was athlete or celebrity, but I think it also sends a sign.
I mean, what is it like? You're like, I'm done with this team. Let me go to social media and remove them from my name. Like, he's clearly trying to play games also.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's pretty much been going to Mets games and, like, just hanging around New York. So,
I mean, also just I don't think people talk enough about how much Danny Ainge has to move Donovan Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
Like, here are his alternatives. He could trade him before camp starts or before the season starts. He could let Donovan Mitchell play and blow a draft pick, or he could ask Donovan Mitchell just to, like, wait at home until he's traded
and cause a lockout next CBA agreement.
Why do you think they caused the lockout?
If you're saying a healthy all-star to just sit for no reason other than to tank, that's going to cause a huge issue with players.
Well, I mean, players have sat out before because they're going to be traded. And so Danny Ainge just says, Donovan, I'm going to trade you. Sit at home until you're traded. I mean, Anthony Davis went home until they traded him.
Yeah, but that Anthony Davis was, like, pulling the strings on that too. Like, he was trying to get traded. Like,
do you think Donovan Mitchell's trying to get traded?
I think he wants to get traded. I don't think he's demanding a trade. I don't think he's, like, he's not behaving like Davis or Durant or something like that. But I think, I think he's totally ready to come to New York.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like a spoiled player. It's also, like, clearly once they traded Gobert, the direction is not to keep. They're looking to move on, basically. They're looking to basically. I'm assuming Danny Ainge wants to do, like, another OKC thing, like, just stockpile a bunch of picks, tank for this year's top 3 picks, and rebuild that way, which is totally a fair thing to do.
Yeah, no, absolutely, totally fair to want to do, but you have to set up the tank before the season starts. You can't start the season with an all-star. He's going to play. The coach is not going to sit him.
Right, and if he plays, you're going to get wins that you don't want to get.
Exactly, and you want Wembanyama.
Yeah. Is there any concern for the fact that Danny Ainge, like, is so adamant to remove him?
No, I think he saw some highlights of Wembanyama, and he's like,
God, looks pretty good.
Yeah. So he started.
So those really tall, big guys. And in very not so great news in the NBA, Chet Holmgren is out for the entire season because he hurt his foot playing like an off-season game.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's like some of these 7-footers just don't last. Like you could take your entire season, get Wembanyama, and have him just be injured.
Right, but Holmgren looked like he was about to break just from a strong wind, and Wembanyama already looks like more sturdy.
I don't know if he looks that sturdy, but yeah. He looked kind of thin. I haven't watched that many highlights, but he doesn't look like LeBron. Okay.
No, but he looks like rookie year Giannis.
Fair enough. So
we got
as
a couple
far
more
as-
questions.
Well, I was gonna say, as far as Donovan Mitchell, what would your like? What do you? So we're gonna assume RJ's out, and I would never have traded RJ anyway. But you're still, I guess, we're still up for trading for Donovan Mitchell, right?
Yes, depending on the
Okay.
price. Depending on the price.
Yeah, depending on the price. So do you think it's going to cost more than just IQ straight up?
Probably.
Okay. What do you? So
Too bad they don't have Frank still.
yeah. So one thing that's been like one rumor I saw was the Knicks. So it seems like the big thing they want is the Knicks unprotected picks. They're not as interested in the protected picks. The unprotected picks is what they're really interested in, understandably.
Yeah.
What do you think about Alan Hahn? Just going on and said like just for a realistic package said Fournier, Grimes, 5 picks out of the 5, 3 or 4 are going to be unprotected. Do you do that?
3.
Okay, so you would do 3 unprotected and 2 of the other protected picks. So 5 picks plus Fournier and Grimes.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your max offer?
I would add maybe another protected in a couple seconds. McBride, like we're reaching close to the max offer.
Well, what if they say like, okay, Fournier, Grimes, we want Obi, and these 5 picks, 3 are unprotected. You do it?
No, I think you push you saying, oh, well, you know what? Now I'm taking him off the table, and you Randall.
Well, they're not going to do Randall, so they're not. Fournier's for money, Randall's for money. They're not like, oh wow, Randall, you're right, he's a good player. We'll take him. You understand Randall's a negative asset, right?
I do, but I also understand that every day that gets closer to the season starting, Utah's under more pressure to make this happen.
You don't think they'll send Donovan Mitchell home? Because I think that's the one thing they can do is just say like, we'll just send him home and we just won't make a trade.
I think that'll cause a huge incident if they do that.
Why would it cause a huge incident? Like the players' union will just say like, well, he's getting his money.
No, you send a player home if it's mutual or like if the player's unhappy. Like you don't send a player home if he's healthy and you just want to tank. Like you can't do that.
Do you think basically Donovan Mitchell will say, I want to play, I don't want to go home?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that you're correct in the sense of like it's terrible for the league for a team to say we're openly tanking and we're going to send our best player home not to play.
Right.
Like the NBA should just find, like, I guess in the situation of a player like say an Anthony Davis or someone else who's asked out, that's one thing. The NBA should if the Jazz say we're tanking Donovan Mitchell, go home and we're going to trade you, the NBA should come in like with massive fines. They should be like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
We can't have a league where teams are openly tanking.
Right.
It's also the NBA probably should fix the draft completely.
I still think that they should just have flat, whatever the math works out. You know, everybody who misses the playoffs gets like an 8% chance.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
that's
That sounds like the best solution.
Their worry was that a team that just misses the playoffs gets the best player. But so what? Well, first of all, you'd have to have it sync up with that exact scenario, which is the odds are that's only going to happen once every like 20 years anyway.
Right. And also sometimes you have teams that you have a really good team that has a top pick because of a trade. It's the same thing, really.
Right. And also a lot of teams that are bad because they have a dumb front office, and now you're going to reward a dumb front office with a generational player. Like that usually doesn't work out anyway. They usually play at their rookie contract and then leave to a team that knows what they're doing. So like, I think just have flat.
Yeah, just get like if you're one of the 14 teams that make the playoffs, you have the exact same odds, and like that way, all you're trying to do is get some of these teams better, make it a little more fair. But yeah, I don't care if the 14th team or the first team. At least that really discourages tanking.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say is that like if you are, I guess, close to making the playoffs, you have some incentive to just not make the playoffs.
Yeah, but I think the play-in tournament kind of eliminates some of that because like it's a lot harder to just not make the top 10 now.
Right. And if you're on the verge of play on the playoffs, it's not like you have an amazing odds to like get the top pick. It's just
yeah, it's still only 8%, which is if you could tank all season and have like a 12% chance. So
if you're really concerned about that, just make it the bottom 12 teams are in there instead of the bottom 14. That's fine also. But that would be a better way to. It is absurd to have teams openly tanking. It's really just annoying for the league.
Yeah, agreed.
So I'm thinking about what I would do. I feel like if the Knicks, the point of this is the Knicks to be good going forward. I feel like between Grimes, IQ, and Obi, I would prefer to only give up one of those players, and maybe that's a stance you have to take.
Mm-hmm.
And I would rather keep Obi. I'd like to keep Grimes. IQ is the one I feel like is the most expendable because like his skill set just like seems the least needed if you're getting Donovan Mitchell.
Agreed. I think IQ is a great asset, but if you have Mitchell and you have Brunson, he's not going to get that many minutes anyway, and he's kind of redundant.
Yeah, I mean, you just have better players that are going to take his minutes. Well, how do you feel about giving up 3 or 4 unprotected picks, though? Like, that really seems. 4 seems insane.
Yeah, 4 is absolutely insane. 3, I'm already like, I don't know if I even want to do this.
Are we overvaluing just how good Donovan Mitchell is?
Undervaluing?
Overvaluing. Not undervaluing. Overvaluing. Because like we're giving up so much to get him. I am wondering if Knicks trade for him, how good are the Knicks? Are the Knicks really that amazing?
So Nomad asked, if the Knicks make a Mitchell trade and hold on to Barrett, where would they rank in the Eastern Conference?
The Eastern Conference is really tough. Like the Knicks don't look that much. So you want to start at the top?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to say, starting with the top, just going last year's standings. The Heat. Are the Knicks better than the Heat? So the Heat, Heat are still pretty good. I mean, had the best record in the East last year. You still got Butler. You feel like Hero gets better. Lowry probably is going to be a little bit worse. They have a bunch of guys that are just good role players. They're such a well-run team. They have Bam.
Struce.
I can't see the Knicks. Struce, yeah, I was thinking role players in the Struce and like
Gabe Vincent.
and Duncan Robinson. Yeah, Gabe Vincent. I can't see the Knicks are better than the Heat.
Yeah, I would say not.
Celtics?
No.
Okay. Bucks?
No.
Sixers?
Probably not. It depends on the health of Harden and Embiid, but probably not.
Raptors?
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know. The Raptors are pretty good. They're not a bad team.
Yeah.
OG's pretty good. Like the Bulls?
Probably.
I think so. I think so with the Bulls. The Nets? Probably not.
Probably not.
Even though the Nets might have a lot of things go wrong. The Hawks?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay. I'd say yes. Cavs?
Probably.
Probably. The Cavs are probably getting better, though.
So we're saying like somewhere between 6 and like 9.
I think 7. Yeah. Probably better than Charlotte. Probably better than the Wizards. Better than the Pacers. Better than Detroit. Better than the Magic. I mean, the basic point really is it's not like the interesting thing about this is not like the Knicks are trading for some, I guess, a superstar that catapults them to a top 4 team. We're saying with this trade that we're going to trade 3 or 4 of our unprotected picks. We're going to go all in for this, and our team is maybe the 8th seed.
Right. And it's not like a lot of these a lot of these good teams in the East are young too. You could say like, yeah, probably Philly and Miami fall off first because Butler's getting up there, and so is Harden. But the rest of those teams we mentioned they have young centerpieces to their team. That top four is going to be really hard to break into for a while.
Right, and even like a team like Cleveland, they're getting better. I mean, Garland was really good last year. They're getting Sexton back. They got Mobley. They're going to be really good next year. Like, there's a bunch of teams that are just getting better. And the Raptors, who's the guy they got again from last year? Who's awesome? The rookie
Barnes.
Yeah, Scotty Barnes is really, really good. Like the Bulls, I can see them falling off a little bit, but like the other teams it's a tough. The East is tough. I guess really, if you were saying where are the Knicks without Donovan Mitchell, where would you put them? You'd put them probably around the same, a little bit lower. I think we added Jalen Brunson. I think we can at least be like the play-in tournament, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think their ceiling goes a couple spots higher, but with Mitchell, but only like maybe 2 spots.
I mean, last year we were the 11th seed, and so much went wrong. 10th seed so basically 11th seed with Knicks with 37 wins. Charlotte Hornets had the 10th seed with 43 wins. You could totally see with the Knicks just having an adequate point guard, the Knicks getting to 43, 44 wins. That seems reasonable, right?
Yeah.
And also just not having the absolute worst Randall possible. RJ getting better. There's a lot of things that go in their favor. They should get to at least 43, 44 wins.
Yeah, agreed.
Is it crazy? Like, where do we go from getting Donovan Mitchell? You get Donovan Mitchell, and I guess we're capped out either way. Yeah. But, like, if it doesn't make us that much better, is it worth moving all these draft picks?
I mean, probably not, because that's the only way to get better at that point. And then unless the guys on the roster all continue to improve a lot, which Donovan, I he's still pretty young, but
what is he, 25?
I think 25 or 26.
Yeah, he's still going. Like in theory, he's still getting better, and he's really good, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, you need like 3 guys on the roster, like Obi, Barrett, and like Grimes, all to like make leaps.
I mean, I have a bit of PTSD from the last like 20 years, but I keep thinking like we'll get like Donovan Mitchell, and it'll be almost like when the Knicks have Melo and Amari together, and we're like, got Melo and Amari together, and we're like, why aren't we winning?
Yeah.
I mean, like and also like, oh my God, we got Stephon Marbury. Why aren't we winning?
Yeah.
Do you think if the Knicks, if they bring in Donovan Mitchell, and let's just say it goes awry, let's just say like it doesn't, like they bring all these players, the team's just not that good, like and they have to like rebuild. Will the Knicks just go right back to star chasing, or will they try to just like rebuild longer?
Of course.
Like they'll try to.
No, that's all they do.
Yeah, isn't it really fun? Like you could also argue the Knicks basically, part of the reason they're in this weird position is they weren't bad long enough. Like they basically had all these draft picks that were like higher picks, blew so many of the picks that maybe the Knicks were better off just being bad longer. Like you should be a bad team until you could turn, like you could get better players.
I'm not going to say it. Nicholas,
no, I'm not.
No,
I'm not saying the Knicks.
I say it every episode. I'm not going to get into it.
Okay, don't even bother. Okay,
Nicholas Gay writes, "Does signing RJ change your view on the front office?"
By the way, Jay was going to talk about Tyrese Halliburton. I can't do that anymore. I'm just saying the Knicks, like, you had so many high draft picks, and you basically, I like some of our young players, but for the most part, basically, for like, you had 4 top 10 picks, 5, maybe if you count the Porzingis thing, and with all these bad years, you have 1 player out of there that's actually pretty good.
Well, that was Halliburton argument, because if you drafted him, you wouldn't need to pay Brunson $100 million, and then you would have
right. If you drafted SGA instead of Knox, if you draft like you can't blow these many. That's how bad teams stay bad, is you keep blowing the draft picks.
Yeah.
And it's also like if RJ was Ja, you can see like this is the time to really move our team forward. We have a guy who's a true superstar, and you can't force the team to tank. I just like the Knicks are going all in with a team that's just not that amazing.
They're going to have to get lucky and get guys like Strus. So, like, look what Miami did with Vincent and Strus.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have to get those guys now. Maybe Isaiah Hartenstein is that guy.
Yeah. I mean, the Knicks, like, overall roster, in some ways, they have a bunch of guys who, like, you don't have the superstars. We have a bunch of guys who are average to above average. You have a very solid, you have a lot of depth on the team. Maybe it ends up being a better team than, like we're looking at all these teams. Maybe the Knicks depth helps them win a bunch of games. And maybe overall team defense, you have like a great defensive coach who can get more out of this team.
The thing is, they have a perfect supporting cast now. They need the guy. Maybe Mitchell's that guy. Maybe we're wrong. But I think, I think it's more on the top 10 to 12 list. But
I think if the Melo trade never happened, and I wasn't so seeing that and seeing how it didn't work out, maybe it'd be more like, let's just do this. On the other hand, it seems like the Knicks are like, I feel like this organization, you said, what is signing RJ? What's to make me think of the front office? I feel better about the front office in the sense of like, they didn't include RJ in the trade and they're just like extending him and keeping him. That makes me think more positively of the front office.
Yeah. I mean, prior front offices would have already not only given Utah what they wanted, they probably would have added a couple players and picks on top of it.
As they did with the Melo trade, where they just went all in trading, like it just didn't make sense, everything they gave them.
Yeah.
And maybe you also figure it out later. You have like a Jalen Brunson's 25, Mitchell's 25 or 26. I guess we could check. RJ's just turned 22. You have a lot of young players. If you keep this group together for the next 4 years and you find a Max Strus, you find some other players, we could take this to the next level.
Yeah.
Hey,
Mark.
And let me say one more thing and you can jump in. Also, it seems like this front office that we're going to make they just seem locked in on the idea of trading for a star player. Is there anyone else that's going to become available that's going to make more sense than Donovan Mitchell?
Don't know. I mean, players can become available like out of nowhere. I mean, look at the Durant thing. Everyone thought he was like going nowhere for the rest of his career, and then all of a sudden he's like, don't want to be here.
But all those guys we named in the superstar category, any sense of like any? I mean, obviously we have no inside information, but like, can you imagine any of those guys being asking out anytime soon?
Probably not, unless Dallas really messes up Luka's supporting cast. That's the only one I could see probably going somewhere.
Yeah, I mean they lost Jalen Brunson, but like they were a pretty darn good team last year. What are you gonna say? Go.
I was gonna say the wait is almost over. A new football season is about to begin. Get ready for the NFL Week 1 action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. To celebrate the return of football, DraftKings is giving new customers a can't-miss offer. Bet just $5 on any football game and get $200 in free bets instantly.
That's a pretty darn good offer.
It's really good, actually. Want more action for opening night? Everyone can experience the thrill of DraftKings early win promotion. Get up 7, you win. Bet on any NFL team of your choice, and if your team leads by 7 points at any point during the game, you get paid instantly, even if your team loses. It gets even better. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code NYKP to get $200 in free bets instantly when you place a $5 bet on any football game. That's code NYKP. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 plus and physically present in New York. Bonus issued as free bets. 1 early win token issued at opt-in. Money line bets only. Deposited and wagering restrictions apply. Eligibility and terms at DraftKings.com/football terms. Gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, which is 467-369.
That sounds like a kind of an amazing offer. You can also bet on basketball on there also, but the NFL bets look kind of awesome. So basically, it seems if the Knicks are just down this path to get an all-star, we can just see how it goes. Mitchell seems like a guy that would be an interesting guy to get.
Yeah, definitely. Stan writes.
Yeah.
NY Knicks Podcast at gmail.com is our email. Stan writes, will you be doing an episode soon? We're doing one right now. Missing your show. Thank you. Want to hear what you think of Donovan backcourt combo and whether we are overvaluing or undervaluing RJ. Also, how long will Tibbs last this season?
It seems like some things have gone. If we trade for Donovan Mitchell and then Tibbs is fired, it sounds like then you'd assume that Tibbs is only getting fired if everything's gone really poorly.
Yeah, I think Tibbs is safe unless he does something really, really egregious. I don't see Tibbs. I think he's safe.
Yeah, I guess basically if the team's terrible, then I can see him being fired. But yeah, I think Tibbs is going to be safe the whole season. I really don't see him being fired. As far as undervaluing RJ, I guess in some ways we were, but I think that contract values him fine.
Yeah,
I think it's
he's
a
valued.
fair contract. I think,
fine.
yeah, I think that it made sense.
Phil writes, "What up, guys? As always, enjoyed that last show. Here's my question. In your living memory, what has been the worst Knicks front office move? Here are some reminders. Allowing Patrick to play his last years ignominiously, gutting the team for Carmelo, hiring Isaiah, hiring Phil Jackson, Dolan kicking Oakley out of MSG. What else?"
I don't know if you do you count Dolan kicking Oakley out of MSG a front office decision. That was more of an owner decision, and very embarrassing, obviously.
True.
Okay, it's like allowing Hewing to play elsewhere. Terrible, but I don't think it's near the top.
I mean, my top three aren't even on here. No,
Bargs. Let me. Can I guess them?
Yeah.
The Bargs trade.
That's number one.
Okay, that was just terrible. Are you gonna say number two is when they chose to re-up Chauncey instead of screwing up the whole amnesty thing?
Yeah, signing him and then amnesty him like before he even played a game. Yeah, that's number
Yeah, just completely screwing that up.
Mhm.
And then number three is trading too much for Melo.
two. He had gutting the team for Melo on his list.
Oh, okay, gutting team for Melo. You said you put that. You don't put that in your top three then.
No, it's fourth.
I mean, if they just had done the amnesty correctly and didn't trade for Bargs, it could have worked out a lot better with Melo.
Yeah, I would say that's fourth on mine.
Okay. Number three. I don't think you're that upset about Lynn Sandy being over, like letting Lynn Sandy go.
Nope.
Are
You're gonna be like, oh my god, as soon as I say it.
you gonna say Eddie Curry?
No.
Anything to do with the draft picks and like a decade of trades?
No, I mean I could go through all the draft picks, which I think, I mean the way I've been ranting about it, I could probably put Halliburton at 3 at this point. But I was gonna say Noah.
Oh, just his contract in general.
He was completely washed up, and they gave him a 4-year, pretty hefty contract. And then on top of that, they extended it, so we ended up paying his contract for like 7 years.
Yeah, that was just like everything with Joakim Noah was idiotic. You're right. Like the thing was so crazy about it was he was already kind of like washed up, and the Knicks gave him a huge deal, and then people were defending it like, well, that's just what like a guy like Noah goes for. You're like, yeah, except he's been washed up for 2 years. You don't make that signing then.
Yeah, no, he had 2 straight bad years and was over 30. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, that was just the situation of like, I'm just gonna look at the name and just not look at what he's done the last 2 years.
Yeah.
On the positive note, you look at Donovan Mitchell. Like, it's nice when you're training for a guy whose best years should be in front of him. And you got Jalen Brunson. The best years should be in front of him. Now we're getting guys instead of their best years being behind them. In theory, their best years should be in front of them.
It's a nice change instead of getting like a 33-year-old coming off injuries.
Right. I mean, when we got, I guess, how different is this than Melo? I guess the Melo was same age as Donovan. He was like 25 when the Knicks got him.
Mm-hmm.
Melo, 25-year-old Melo versus 25-year-old Donovan Mitchell. Who's a better player, Jay?
Probably Melo, but the thing is, they had Amari, so like it was kind of.
Well, yeah, no, you can argue other. First of all, I think Melo's. I think you're insulting Melo. Melo was definitely a much better player than as good as Donovan is. Melo was flat out better.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's crazy. Like it's Melo was at this. Would you say he was close and superstar, or just below superstar at the time? Knicks got him.
If he wasn't superstar, he was like the very next guy in the second tier.
Yeah. So basically, the Knicks won. They got a guy who was better. In that trade, you're getting a guy not quite as good, but I guess the rest of the team, the supporting cast, is better than what they had then.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, any guy who was worth anything got sent away in the Melo trade. Look at some of the supporting roster around Melo. Like, It was really bad.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue so. Amari, the fit just wasn't very good, right?
The fit wasn't good, and Phoenix said his knees wouldn't last 3 years, and 3 years later his knees went out. So like, it was a ticking time bomb the second they signed that contract.
Okay, and I mean, you have Mitchell Robinson. You have a bunch of like, I guess the 13-14 team or 12-13 team. That team probably overall was pretty old, maybe better, but pretty old.
Yeah, they had, I think, 5 guys between 38 and 40.
How is the fit with Mitchell? Like, you have a very short backcourt.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that? 2 guys who are like 6 foot, basically, as your guards.
Yeah, that's not great.
And now we're gonna move Grimes, our best wing.
Well, I think
So
that's why. I think that's why they're balking at including Grimes, because it seems like the strategy would be to stagger Brunson and Mitchell and have Grimes out there as much as possible with at least one of them.
Yeah, I mean,
which
I
makes
guess
sense.
you have right now. You'd have Brunson, Mitchell, RJ, and then Randall and Mitchell.
Yeah.
Mitch Robinson, Mitch Rob or M Rob, whatever.
Yeah.
I wonder how good. Like, that's a lot of offense there, but the defense is going to be putrid.
Yeah.
And I wonder how good that fit is. And then, like, you can't move Randall because also, are we clogging the paint there? Like, how's that looking? I wish we had one season to see how this team looked with Brunson before we made a move.
Right.
Another
right.
move.
Jorge writes, "Hey guys, are you impressed on how the front office is dealing with the Donovan trade package so far? The Knicks are reluctant in giving up youth and picks."
Yeah, what do you think, Jay?
I think that we covered that.
Okay, fine.
But I do feel good about the fact that they haven't like immediately bowed down to what Danny Ainge wants.
Jay, if you don't like just talking endlessly about the same thing over and over again, you're not going to like all our preseason shows.
That's why we took like 6 weeks off.
There's really not much. I mean, it's really just like we signed RJ. Yeah, we all agree with that one. I saw some people like, oh, was he worth that much? But generally, everyone's like, this is when you look on Twitter or anywhere else, people are like, this made sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any Knick fan really wanted to include RJ. So in the trade, and most people seem down for getting Donovan. Has the front office failed? They don't get Donovan Mitchell.
No. If Danny Ainge is being unreasonable, then you can't say it's a failure on our front office for not just giving him everything he wants, because that's the kind of thing that we crap on previous front offices for doing.
Hey, are you impressed that Dolan hasn't stepped in and forced this?
I am.
Like, you think Leon is like Dolan's just keeping it out of it and just trust Leon, or is Leon like Dolan? Stay the heck back. Like, he's like, does he have to talk to him? Like, every day he gets a phone call from Dolan. He's like, when are we doing this? When are we doing this? And he's like, I told you, we'll do this if it makes sense. If not, James, do you want things to change here?
Edward asked, why won't Mitchell ask for a trade? He doesn't need to. Like, they're trying to tank. Everyone knows it.
I feel like you ask for a trade, it hurts your image. If you don't have to ask for a trade, it's better.
Yeah, I mean, it looks way better for Mitchell if he just stays quiet, knowing they're going to trade him to tank anyway. So why even like get crapped on by fans and everybody when you're going to get traded anyway? Yeah,
Jazz fans can't get mad at him. And also, if he asks for a trade, what changes? He's still getting traded.
Right.
Like, it's not like Danny Ainge is like, oh, shoot, he asked for a trade. Fine. IQ for him straight up.
Right.
All
right, we are
so if the Knicks just, yeah, so the Knicks trade 4 unprotected picks. That means you're assuming 2023, 2025, 2027, and 2029 picks.
Yes.
It just scares me.
It does, especially ones like 6 years out.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. If the Knicks could only trade, like, it just seems like if it doesn't work out, you're setting this team back so goddamn far.
Yeah, you never know what can happen 6 years down the road. Like, it's not good.
Yeah. Hopefully by next show, hopefully by the time you're listening to this, the Knicks already have Donovan Mitchell on the team.
Yep. Well, we're
It'll
putting
be
out an episode tonight, so it'll probably happen tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll be a fun season. Like, that's the one thing Jay, we agree. If the Knicks get Donovan Mitchell, it goes from like fun to like super fun.
Agreed. So we are NY Knicks Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Patreon. And we do our shows on Twitch, twitch.tv/crumpledbacon and youtube.com/TITOWAJ. We'll be back to our regular weekly schedule going forward. And let's see how this plays out. Let's go Knicks.
Jay, I heard they have to include you in the deal. Is that okay?
Do I have to go to Utah?
Yeah, you have to go live with the Mormons.
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. It's over. Goodbye. It's time to go. This is the end. Say goodbye. You better go away. I'm gonna leave you. It's the end. Goodbye. Goodbye. Just leave me alone. Feels so good to say goodbye. I'm sick and tired and I'm saying goodbye. Goodbye, girl. Goodbye, 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 everybody.
I like where you closed the show.
Thank you.
That was good. So what do you want to talk about next week? The Donovan Mitchell trade and RJ's contract.
Yeah, pretty much.